of our best friends are getting married.
A marked envelope. Could it be cash? A check?
Oh my God. I'm calling 911.
Everyone chill out! We don't tell anybody what happened tonight.
We should go. What does it say? What if someone saw us?
Outside of us, no one knows what happened, right?
Hello? Please stop!
Someone is clearly coming after us.
I need to start drinking.
The cops are not gonna help us.
And we'll find someone who will.
It isn't something I like talking about.
You survived this once. We need your help.
You can't run. You can't hide. Get them before they get you. Whoever's doing this, it's personal to them.
One of us is hiding something.
We are not gonna die today. What are you waiting for?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Fresh Cuts. This is Mike. Joining me, as always, it's Mr. Venom. What's up, Venom?
Greetings and salutations, nostalgic slashers. I'm doing damn well. I've got a pot roast that's been in a slow cooker since noon. My house smells fucking amazing right now. So let's hurry up and talk about this terrible movie so I can get to my delicious pot roast.
Well, I am doing well too. It's like the end of July. It's only in the mid 80s here, which is like unheard of. So I'm enjoying.
Yeah, it was only about 75 in LA today, which I loved. I think it hit 80 after I came home because I went out this morning. But yeah, it was 75, sunny. It was freaking perfect.
Yeah, I looked at my energy bill because I paid last month's, but on the website it'll kind of show you where like the following month's is, and I'm like, damn, that's at least like $150 less than it usually is at this time of the year. So I'm pretty happy. And there's a Severance sale tonight, so maybe I'll try to hop on that if there's any good deals. We'll see. But Dawn, you're also with us as always. How you doing?
Yeah, it's great to always be here.
I don't know about always, because we got a movie to talk about.
True.
The conversation's always good, I guess. Okay. So, the movie that released this past week in the theater, I Know What You Did Last Summer. If that title sounds familiar, yes, because it's a sequel. It's kind of like part sequel, part reboot.
It's
It's
part
kind
of those
like a hybrid.
rebootable. It's that rebootable stuff.
Yeah, it's almost like they want to release or start like a new franchise block of movies based off the old ones. So you kind of got to mix a little old with a little new. And that is that. The synopsis: a group of friends are terrorized by a stalker who knows about a gruesome incident from their past. I mean, it's basically the synopsis of all the I Know What You Did Last Summer movies. So no surprise there, or what it's about, or how the movie goes. But how well did we think they did making this one? Venom, we will start with you. General thoughts. I Know What You Did Last Summer. What'd you think?
All right. I'm going to go on a couple of tirades here, so bear with me. First of all, I am thoroughly sick of the trend of us getting legacy sequels in these long-running franchises, but then naming the movie the same title as the goddamn original. I'm sorry. That is unoriginal. It's boring. It's lazy, and I don't understand it. We had it with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We had it with Scream 5, which, yes, I know we call it Scream 5 now, but if you remember when it was released, it was just called Scream. I don't understand this. Like, to me, this is a sequel. They may be trying to reboot a new trilogy, but this is 100% a sequel. I mean, literally, we've got legacy characters in here. They reference the massacre from 97, excuse me. So, yeah, I mean, call it I Know What You Did Last Summer, something, The Reckoning or A New Beginning or The New Blood. I don't know. Just give it a stupid fucking title just so that we can differentiate between the two. Because in about 20 years, when somebody says, hey, have you seen I Know What You Did Last Summer? The first thing they're going to ask is which one? Because the fucking titles are the same. So, yeah, I'm sick of this trend. I hate it. Please stop it. Be goddamn original. You can still call it I Know What You Did Last Summer, but give it a subtitle of some kind so that we can differentiate between the two. Okay, next. I am not a fan of this franchise to begin with, folks. I hated the 1997 original. I've hated every one since then. I watched one episode of the TV show. I don't even think I finished that whole episode. I think I got like halfway through the first episode and I noped out of that quickly. So this is not a franchise for me. Like I said, this is one of those, 90s style Scream ripoff, youth-oriented slashers that, after Scream became popular, we just got an abundance of all of these movies, and they all seem the same to me, whether it's Urban Legends or I Know What You Did Last Summer. They just all feel the same to me, and I'm not that big a fan. So what did I think of I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025? Fucking boring. I was so thoroughly bored. Like, yes, they made some changes to the movie. Yes, they for the most part, the characters are the exact same. I mean, you've got Jennifer Love Hewitt 2.0. You've got Ryan Phillippe 2.0. I mean, literally, these are the same characters, same characterization, no update whatsoever. This movie is very solidly taking place in modern day, 2025 or 24, whatever you want to go with. And they're trying so hard to inject this with that 90s nostalgia that it does not work. I mean, maybe if you actually speak to a 90s kid, they may have a different opinion of it. Because like I said, the original movie, I wasn't that big a fan of anyway. I was already almost 30 by the time that movie came out. So I definitely was not the target audience for it. But yeah, this movie there are changes to it. They updated the story a little bit, which I'll give them some credit for. One of the biggest changes that I hated about the movie, though, is the accident itself. Like back in the original, the kids in that movie were so much more egregious with what happened the night of that accident. They hit a guy in the road and then they dump his body. In this movie, I'm not going to get into what happens on the night of the accident quite yet till we get to the walkthrough, but they make it so that it's legitimately just a silly accident. Like, I don't even understand why any of the kids in this movie thought that they would get in trouble. Like, that guy was very obviously speeding because I don't want to get into it right now. I'll get into it in the walkthrough, but yeah, just the kids in this one, in my opinion, didn't deserve to be murdered. Unlike the kids in the original, who very obviously made the decision to cover up an accident. Yes, there is a cover up in this one, but we've got some parents involved, so the kids aren't the only ones who know about the situation, which is another story change that I'm kind of on the fence about. But for the most part, yeah, this movie is just a lot of rehashed gags. We got the killer with the hook and the slicker all over again. I do like the inclusion of the spear gun. We get a couple of spear gun kills in this one that at least I'll give it some credit for. I will say that the kills are at least a little bit gorier in this one. I mean, in 97, they're almost all off screen, so they're just not good looking at all. Like, I think the Jonathan, what's his name? Like Nicky or
Galecki.
Yeah, Lecky. Thank you. His kill was probably the one that was on screen the most, and you still barely see anything. Whereas this one, like I said, we get a couple of decent bloody kills. We get one actually decent like fight between one of our characters and our fisherman killer that was mildly entertaining. But just by the time we get to the end, first of all, the use of the legacy characters in this one is just really, really dumb. And then once we get a reveal at the end of the identity of our killer, holy shit, I wanted to walk out of the theater right then and there. Just terrible, terrible filmmaking, terrible storytelling. Like I said, a red herring that was so red, you would have guessed it was covered in blood, but then it's not. He's not the killer. It's like, why would you even make that guy so creepy and weird and touchy-feely and invading personal space if he's not the killer? It was literally just a way for the director to say, oh, I got you, haha. No, you didn't get us, you fucking idiot. You laid the breadcrumbs, making us all think that that's the killer, and then you just pull a swerve at the end. That's not clever, okay? I'm sorry. It's just absolutely not. What else? I mean, just overall in all, as much as I dislike the original, I think I dislike this one even more because it's almost 30 years later. They did very little to update the story, to modernize it. I mean, even some of the kids in this movie were talking like the kids talked back in 97, and that doesn't fucking make sense. No high school senior in 2025 talks like a high school senior from 1997. That just doesn't fucking happen. So again, yeah, this movie was bad. It was boring. It's almost 2 fucking hours, and it felt every minute of that almost 2 hours. I was so thoroughly bored with just waiting for people to get killed. And at least we get extra kills in this movie. Like in the original, they pretty much stuck to the kills of people involved in the situation. In this film, we actually get some extra people that get killed who maybe get a little too close to the situation. Honestly, there's one kill in this movie that makes zero sense to me. But again, we'll talk about that during the walkthrough. But yeah, overall, like I said, this franchise is not for me. It never was for me. And this movie was just so thoroughly boring. And I watched the original the night before I watched this one because it literally had been 20 years since I had seen the original. So I wanted to just kind of get a refresh on that movie so that I can compare and contrast with the new one, especially because it has the exact same fucking title. But yeah, I can't say much good about this movie other than maybe, like I said, a few extra gory kills in this one that maybe we didn't get in the original. Otherwise, same shitty story. Actually, I think the story in this one's even worse. Like, I thought the story of the first one was actually mildly clever, where those kids actually end up hitting the killer of another person, not just some innocent kid. So, I mean, I kind of like that little twist, if you will, in the original, but this one doesn't have any kind of clever twist. It thinks it's clever, but it's absolutely not. And just a waste of legacy characters. And it just, and then in our post-credit scene, we get the return of another fucking legacy character that's, I'm assuming, going to be setting up the next movie if we get any more of these. I'm assuming, like Mike said, that yeah, they're trying to do a new trilogy or whatever. But I really hope they stop with this one. I didn't check to see what the numbers are for this one. While Don is doing his general thoughts, I'll check to see what the numbers were for the weekend. I can't imagine they were that good, but they had to be better than Megan 2.0. So that's something. But yeah, I'm just going to leave my general thoughts at this franchise isn't for me. This movie didn't do enough new stuff to make it really stand out. And ultimately, even the original isn't that much of a standout to me to begin with. So yeah, this just isn't my franchise, folks. So I would say if Lacey Lou on Cut to the Chase reviews this movie and you're a 90s kid, go listen to that review. Her review is probably going to be a little bit closer to what you thought of the movie. I am solidly a 70s and 80s kid, and holy shit, I just don't like this franchise, and I did not like this movie. I'll leave my general thoughts at that for now, but I'm going to have a lot more to talk about during the walkthrough. So that's it for now.
All right. Let's kick it over to Dawn for your general thoughts.
Well, I'm not going to have much different from Venom. I am a 90s kid. I came into the genre around 97, 98 when this would have been perfectly appealing to me. And one of the first films I actually watched was the original. Um, I didn't like it then. I didn't like it in the 2000s when I had to review it for my IMDb account, and I still don't like it to this day. I don't really care for the original. I'm not a fan of the late 90s in general. The only ones that I actually really like are the first two Scream films and Urban Legend. Everything else just it really just doesn't appeal to me at all. I actually even really like the sequel, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, more than the original version, which again, don't really take that as glowing endorsement. There's not a very high bar to pass, and I Still Know doesn't really clear it by much. But yeah, this one there's just not much here. I agree with Venom. I don't find the accident that involved enough. I don't think that there's much to this one that really warrants the rampage that follows. The idea of targeting as many people as he does is fine. I don't think that the instigating incident for the rampage itself is all that great, but the rampage itself isn't bad. I do like where it goes. I do like some of the stalking scenes, and the fact that we actually get something resembling a body count here instead of the original, which kind of rivals a romantic comedy. But yeah, there's just not much here. The characters are just vapid and uninteresting, and you just don't really care what happens to them either way. The pacing is just astronomically off. I mean, yeah, this thing clocks in around hour 50, hour 55, I think, and there's just no reason for this to be anywhere close to that. I mean, the only reason to do that would be to, change around some of the kills and add even more bodies so that way the original accident has like a huge group to go after. But even that's pushing it. There's so much wrong here. I mean, it doesn't really look that good. You can't really say that the technical merits are all that impressive. It doesn't look like much difference from a lot of the mid to high budget indie films that kind of show up on Shutter or Netflix. It looks better than like a Tubi original, but I mean it's a little bit on the high end of like a Shutter original kind of genre fare that we've reviewed over the past couple of months. Yeah, there's very little here. I mean, I'm kind of struggling to come up with anything different than Venom said. The chases aren't bad. I don't mind, some of the stalking scenes here because the one thing I do like about the original is that there is a few decent stalking scenes in there, but I mean that's a slasher film. That's kind of like the bottom of the barrel, like the lowest common denominator that you need to have a successful one. And if all you're doing is just reaching that level and only just, it's not that worthwhile. And yeah, the whole timeline thing makes no sense. The legacy characters don't need to be there. Will say it's finally, I'm glad to see that Jennifer Love Hewitt's Pog era is really coming in nicely. But beyond that,
Woo!
exactly. Yeah, I mean, beyond that, there's very little for this reason for this to exist. Yeah, the late '90s weren't all that cracked up, folks. I'm glad you enjoyed that era, but nostalgia is no excuse for shitty films. Back to you, Mike.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to largely concur with my two co-hosts here to start out. I was never really a fan of the franchise back in the 90s. I don't even think I've seen the third one, but the first one, like, I haven't seen the first one in a long time, but I
I saw the
remember.
third one once and I don't remember it.
Yeah, the first one when I saw it, I didn't hate it, but I just thought it was mediocre. Like it wasn't like I came out of the theater being like, "Oh my God, it was." But it was very much of its time on that style of '90s like post scream slasher, which I just was not a fan of. Like where the slasher genre went, at least for like mainstream theatrical American release slashers. I'm not gonna attribute the entire genre everywhere to that, but definitely in America. Um, so when we go to this one, I feel like this is just like a less good version of the first movie. I, I kind of, it's too bad Venom mentioned the actual uh, accident scene because I wasn't sure if anyone else was going to bring that up, but I was thinking that too. Like when I was watching the movie, I was like, they didn't really do too much wrong. I mean, there's some argument you can say, yeah, they shouldn't technically have been doing exactly what was happening, but like it was nothing as egregious or like deliberate as the first movie where you can make like the better case for revenge. And then like when we
I
get
mean,
kind of like
hell, Scary Movie has a better motivation than what happens in here.
yeah, we get some reveals in this that just don't make sense. Like so some of the motivations in this, I don't get it. Like really, that's why you want to be doing all this killing? Okay. I thought the legacy characters appearing was okay. I actually thought Freddie Prinze Jr. like as far as his acting in this, I thought he was like good, but the problem was how his character was written. Like, and it's not the whole time. It's like kind of later on in the movie, but like when he first shows up, I was like, oh, he's actually like doing pretty well. Like for having not seen him like on screen in so long. Because he's probably like around my age or maybe a handful of years older, somewhere in my age range, and I just haven't seen him doing much. I think him and Sarah Michelle Gellar are pretty much kind of taking like a time off to like raise their family and stuff. So it was kind of cool seeing him. Jennifer Love Hewitt still looks good, but like again, her role and some of the motivation, like we get like some information about them, like they just kind of like throw some stuff out there for exposition, but like no reason why. It's like kind of no background. Okay, okay, we're just supposed to learn. I guess I heard, okay, and this is speculation, but I did read that there was some like some I guess disagreements or stuff revolving around what's the character name of Jennifer Julie James, is it? Um
Yeah.
about what exactly her role was in this was going to be, what the significance. I heard like she was kind of cast like later into the movie, so and I don't know if that's true, but it does kind of feel like her character specifically, more so than the other legacy characters, kind of felt like ham-fisted in, kind of thrown in, and it's not clear like what the actual motivation of her doing anything is in this. But even without all that, yeah, it's just I don't know. I kind of feel like if you're a fan of the other ones, you'll probably like this to a certain degree because if this is your style of slasher and this is what you want out of it, I mean I still think it's less good than the original for some reasons, but it's just not good, and I felt I just came away like it's mediocre. Like I didn't really like '90s slashers, so I'm not gonna like slashers in 2025 modeled after '90s slashers for the most part. I'm not saying that no one's gonna figure out a formula to make them good, but this just it's almost like this took like all the worst qualities of '90s slashers, or specifically this franchise, and then made the other elements even worse. And when we start getting reveals about things later with like characters, I'm just like, that's the motivation, really? Like that seems very thin and ridiculous, and in no way a justification for this. Like
Mhm.
we waited this and like I think Dawn mentioned, we waited nearly 2 hours to get this as a reveal, and what? And then of course our mid-credit scene where what in the world does that character have to do with anything that's happening in this movie? Like, okay, like whatever. Like I understand the motivation to want to put that character there just to say, look, a sequel might happen. But other than that, strictly like business decision, I have no idea what that was for. Um, yeah. Uh, it's just, yeah, I don't know what else to say because I basically, I'm just what's already been said. If I guess I'll just leave it at this. If you like the other ones, you're probably gonna get something out of this that I didn't get. But it's this type of slasher isn't for me, generally speaking, and this one did nothing to like kind of change that or go outside of what I generally think of 90s slashers. And yeah, I'll leave it there for now. Back to you, Venom.
I don't know what the hell else to say. I have so little to say about this movie. What's funny too is that when I genuinely hate a movie, I end up having a lot to say about it. This movie is so just middle of the road, dull, been there, done that, that I don't even have a hell of a lot to nitpick about, other than just the stuff that I hated about the original that they just kind of carried over to this one. So I don't know, man. I'm trying to think. Obviously, this is a theater watch, so I wasn't able to take notes, but I'm just trying to think of what else. Because I just remember sitting in that theater about an hour into the movie, just dreading the fact that I still had about an hour to watch. Uh, when a movie's good, I don't check my clock. I don't check my phone to see what time it is because I have no interest in doing it because it's a good movie. I'm into the movie. But a 2 hour movie and I'm already bored 20 minutes in, that's rough. And that's a theatrical watch too. Yeah, that was a bit rough. Like I said, I don't really have a whole lot more to add. I just thoroughly dislike this movie. Hate might be a reach. I'm not going to say that I hate it. It's just, it does nothing for me whatsoever. I derived almost no pleasure from this movie. And then the joke that the movie ends on actually fucking infuriated me. Like, fuck you. They're trying to make this men versus women suddenly. It's a battle of the sexes all over again. And that's fucked up to even bring that up. That's so I know it was
Oh,
just a joke, just an attempt at a joke, but it literally left me pissed off. I'm walking out of the theater pissed off because of that fucking joke. Like, fuck you. How are you going to go and alienate half your audience, maybe more than half your audience? That doesn't even fucking make sense. Whatever. Whatever.
I yeah, I'll just add this. I am by no means like a movie sleuth. I don't watch movies to try to or I don't watch whodunits and sit there and try to dissect everything in the first act to figure out who a killer might be. But I will say this, if you're trying to keep it under wraps, one thing not to do is introduce your group of teams all with like backstories and reasons to be there, except one of them, and then save their backstory for like the second or third act where it becomes kind of obvious why oh this person is just kind of there and like there's really nothing about them that connects them and we don't really learn anything about them. It's like you're just like setting people up to build natural suspicion and you do nothing to like
Mhm.
dispel it through like the rest of the movie because like I said I would rather always be surprised. I don't want to try to figure it out, but I feel like sometimes there's that trope with like teen movies or just movies generally like this where like if you if you go out of your way to like set a character up like that, it's like you're almost making it obvious unless you're doing it specifically to make them a red herring. Okay, I can kind of get that, but like when they end up being a part of something later on, it's like, well, duh, because what else are they here for? There was no reason for them to be here in the first place. But I guess that could be
Exactly.
considered a minor spoiler, but come on, like I think most people that are like familiar with these types of movies would
Yeah.
maybe pick up on that.
No, absolutely. No, yeah, you're absolutely right. Um, when we get to the movie, I'll talk about my guess and how close I came. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this stupid walkthrough. There's no need to delay this anymore. All right. So, of course, it is the 4th of July, as every I Know What You Did Last Summer movie takes place. We're introduced to Ava Brooks. She is returning home to Southport, again, the same town as in the original. One thing I will say that I did kind of like, I mean, it doesn't really add anything to the movie, but I like that these aren't high school kids. If you remember in the original, they were high school kids. They were talking about going off to college. Helen Shivers had just won that beauty contest, blah, blah, blah. This one, these kids are already in college and they're returning to Southport for a wedding. So at least they aged them up a little bit. So I'll give them a little credit for that. So, like I said, Ava is our main character. She returns to Southport for her friend Danica's. I guess you could say Ava is the Jennifer Love Hewitt and Danica is the Sarah Michelle Gellar of this movie. And basically, Ava's ex-boyfriend Milo, who is the Freddie Prinze Jr. of this movie, is also at this little engagement party. You know, they've been broken up for almost a year now. It obviously wasn't a good breakup because of the way that they speak to each other. We're also introduced to Danica's fiance, Teddy. Teddy is the Ryan Phillippe of this movie. I am saying that it's Ryan Phillippe, right? From the original. I'm like 98% sure, but whatever. Not that I don't care that much. So that's your 4 major friends. So like I said, they're at an engagement party where they announce the engagement of Danica and Teddy. As they're ready to leave to go watch the fireworks at their little secluded spot, they run into a friend named Stevie. Stevie is an old friend of theirs from school. Now, Stevie used to be in a rich family. Like all these kids are rich. Hence, you know, why they're hanging out with each other. Stevie's family, unfortunately, had a situation where they lost their money. And after that happened, the core 4 friends basically stopped hanging out with Stevie. But that night, after the engagement party, they see that Stevie's actually working as one of the caterers at the event. They see her. They're all, you know, they're kind of excited to see her. She's out of rehab. Apparently, when her family lost all their money, she kind of, you know, got lost in the bottle and drugs and things like that. So she ended up having to go to rehab. Which is why everybody's kind of treating her with kid gloves, you know, because they're all sitting there drinking and they're about to go, you know, drunk driving and go watch fireworks, blah, blah, blah. They end up inviting Stevie and Stevie actually agrees. And she's like, yeah, let's do it. You know, Stevie misses hanging out with them. So it's now the 5 of them instead of just 4, like in the original movie. Same kind of setup. They're driving down a windy road, but this time they end up pulling over to the right side of the road, and the road doesn't have much of a shoulder. Like this road doesn't have a fucking shoulder. So why these kids thought it was a good idea to pull over, stop, and watch fireworks is beyond me on a very twisty, windy road too. Again, just kind of shows the intelligence level of our, you know, core 4. All right, so in this movie, instead of them actually hitting a pedestrian and dumping their body, what ends up happening is Teddy is drunk as hell. He's out in the middle of the road, you know, fucking around. He almost gets hit by a car. Now, what's funny is that car, they saw that car coming from like a quarter mile away. And they're yelling at Teddy, get out of the road, dude. You're going to get hit. And finally, Milo basically pushes him out of the way of the speeding car and, you know, to an extent kind of saves Teddy's life. Teddy is sitting there, you know, he's like the badass of the group where he's like, they weren't going to hit me. Shut up, blah, blah, blah. And then another car comes, but this one they didn't see coming. So explain that. Explain how they saw the first car a quarter mile away. And then the second car, which is a truck, by the way, a pickup truck, but bigger than a standard car. And they didn't hear that one coming. So go figure, you know, already lapses in fucking logic. So this car comes around the corner, almost hits Teddy, but ends up swerving to the left. Unfortunately, on that side of the road is a cliff, just like in the original movie. and the truck basically goes over the embankment, but gets kind of caught, like right at the lip. So it's kind of teetering, like it's about to fall off the cliff, and it's not. The kids instantly go to try to help the driver. In their credit, like I said, they actually go, they try to stop the truck from falling off the cliff. Like 3 of the kids are on the back of the truck trying to put all their body weight on the tail end, while Teddy is at the windshield, or at the window, at the driver's side window, trying to wake up the driver, trying to wake him up so they can get him out of the car. Unfortunately, the inevitable does happen. The truck ends up going off the cliff. And just as the truck goes off the cliff, or just as the truck is about to go off the cliff, we see the driver wake up, like he regains consciousness. And then he grabs Teddy's shirt and takes the shirt with him as the truck goes over the cliff. I thought that was going to be like a plot point later in the movie, that Teddy's shirt was in the truck with our driver. But no, they never mentioned the shirt again. It's like it was pointless. But anyway, as it turns out, Teddy's father is the sheriff of this town. So rather than call 911 to try to get help for the driver whose truck just went off the cliff, they decide we're just going to go talk to his father. And they end up, and that's a lie. Teddy is basically lying to them just to kind of appease them. So he's saying, okay, let's go to the cops. My dad's the sheriff. He'll be able to take care of this for us. What ends up happening instead is they don't go to the cops. They end up just going to Teddy's house. And obviously, Ava and Stevie, the 2 who wanted to go to the police the most, are pissed off. They're like, what the hell's going on? And that's when Teddy says, hey, listen, I spoke to my father, and he's going to make this whole thing disappear. Our names are not going to be mentioned. No one's going to know anything about anything. And if you're wondering about the driver, it turns out that the driver of the car is a kid named Sam Cooper. As it turns out, they look up Sam Cooper, and it turns out he had no friends or family to speak of. So they're thinking, oh shit, we actually kind of got away with it. So like I said, this accident isn't nearly as egregious as what we got in 97. In 97, they literally hit a pedestrian and then dumped his fucking body in the water. And the guy was conscious. When they dumped him in the water, if you remember, in the original, he was conscious. So that's straight up murder. That's not even manslaughter anymore. That is straight up fucking murder. Whereas in this case, it wouldn't have even been manslaughter. It literally was just an accident. The driver swerved to avoid a pedestrian. He went off the cliff. So like I said, there was no reason for these kids not to go to the police, because not a one of them was going to get in trouble. Teddy's girlfriend was driving, who wasn't drinking. So she, just like in the original where it was Freddie Prinze Jr. who was driving because he wasn't drinking. Same thing with this one. The girlfriend, Danica, took the keys away from Teddy, blah, blah, blah. So she was driving. But like I said, the way that the accident went, these kids wouldn't have gotten in any trouble whatsoever. They're just fucking idiots. So of course, now it is 1 year later, and Ava is back in town once again after going to another year at college. But this time, Ava, much like Julie James in the originals, having trouble at school. She's having trouble adjusting to the whole what we did thing, blah, blah, blah. And now we find out that Danica is once again engaged to a different person. Apparently, Danica and Teddy broke up after the events of the accident. Maybe not right away, but by the end of that summer, they had broken up completely. And she is now engaged to a new person, and she is now having yet another engagement party. So she's having 2 4th of July engagement parties in a row. We end up meeting the new guy. He turns out to be just, the complete opposite of Teddy, whereas Teddy was like the athletic, buff, kind of douchebag fuckboy. Her new, guy is, much more prim and proper looking. He looks almost like a business guy, definitely. Though we do find out that he's a major drinker. There's one scene where we see him grab a bottle and just basically down it after Danica goes up to take a bath. And then this is going to be our first kill of the film, where the fiance ends up getting impaled. First, he gets shot with a spear gun from behind, which, already that's better than any kill we got in the original. And then his body is propped up on a fishing spear with the spear going through his neck and head. So it's literally propping him up. It looks like he's standing up, but he's dead as shit. He's basically a Christmas tree decoration at this point. Danica ends up coming out of the bathtub. She doesn't hear anything because she's listening to a self-help CD or whatever on her phone. One of those self-help programs, you are the best, you are blah, 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 blah. I always laugh at people who need shit like that. I know I shouldn't because mental health is a serious issue, but goddamn, people that need that kind of daily affirmation just really make me laugh. And this girl is rich and pretty, and she still somehow needs daily affirmation. I don't get it. Whatever. All right, so at the second engagement party, I actually skipped something. I'm sorry. During the second engagement party, Danica ends up getting the famous note. I know what she did last summer. She ends up getting a card at her wedding shower with the second guy. And it's the famous, I know what you did last summer, literally in the exact same font as how it was written back in 97. It's like, this isn't remotely the same killer, but somehow they know the font that, what was his name? Ben Willis. The font that Ben Willis used back in 97, somehow the killer today knows that font and is using it. So, but then again, once we get the reveal at the end, it does kind of make sense. So keep that in the back of your head. Like I said, the fiance ends up getting killed that night. At first, they suspect Teddy because Teddy is, the jilted fiance, if you will. He now lives on a houseboat because his family's rich, but obviously at that age, nobody likes their family. So, he basically lives on a houseboat by himself. Very similar to Freddie Prinze Jr. in the original, if you remember that one. Remember the Baby Blue? He lived on the Baby Blue. So anyway, which, by the way, makes an appearance in this one. One of the many Easter eggs in this movie, alluding to the past 3 movies. All right, so after they suspect Teddy, they go to confront him. He denies any involvement. That night, unfortunately, Wyatt is hacked to death by our fisherman, who very much resembles Ben, our original Ben Willis killer. I mean, in build and everything. It's kind of interesting. All right, let's see. Ava. When Ava was coming back to town, she kind of did a ride share with a podcaster. Tyler was the name of the podcaster, which I found kind of funny, actually. Of course, us being douchebag podcasters. So to actually see this girl in the movie talk about how fascinated she was with the 1997 crime spree and that she's now visiting Southport on the 4th of July just to kind of tour the town and tour the different locations. After Danica's fiance is killed and Wyatt is killed, basically Danica and the podcaster kind of get back, they hook up again. Hook up. They did kind of hook up because when we meet the podcaster, Ava and the podcaster are kind of making out in the bathroom. And then that's when she finds out that Ava is going to Southport. Southport. So she basically gets a ride with her. So that's how they get together. They end up going to visit one of the locations from the original spree, and that is the department store. If you remember the department store where Helen Shivers and her sister both worked, owned by their father. It is now the Bayside Hotel, which is basically like a little hotel restaurant that they turned it into. But it looks like it's been abandoned. It's closed. It looks like it's been closed for a few years. I forgot to mention, too, that Southport, even though Southport is still mildly a fishing town, it's been gentrified. Like, they basically turned Southport into a city for rich people. So it's like, it's all rich folks and then the people, and then all the fishermen folk, all the people that are associated with the fishing and, the more middle to lower class families live on that side of town. And then, of course, all the rich people live on the other side of town, blah, blah, blah. So anyway. Let's see, where are we? Like I said, Ava and Tyler visit the Bayside, which used to be the department store from the original movie. We even see Tyler, the podcaster, using the same hand-operated lift that Sarah Michelle Gellar tries to use in the original movie. So again, more kind of Easter eggs to the original. Unfortunately, the podcaster does end up running into the killer, wearing the slicker and the hook. She ends up getting her throat slit with the hook and then hung on a noose and thrown out the front window. So she's literally hanging right in front of the business. So everybody, and it's the middle of the day too. So literally everyone sees this person. The cops are trying to hide it quickly because the cops, as it turns out, the local police buried the 1997 murder spree. There's no plaques or anything recognizing it. There's no, memorials. There's no nothing. The town basically buried it. Remember, keep that in the back of your head because that's important for later. Like I said, at this point, the podcaster has been killed. Danica was able to escape the Edison, without too much damage. But at one point she is able to she's able to slash the killer's arm with like a knife, which very obviously hurts the killer because, we see the killer react and then we see a little bit of blood come down. So once again, keep that in the back of your head too. All right. So after this, there is a town hall meeting where where Ray, of course, played by Freddie Prinze Jr. So he is the first of our legacy characters to show up in the movie. He still lives in Southport. He's still a fisherman. He's obviously, he doesn't live on the Billy Blue anymore, but he still has a piece of the Billy Blue up on the wall of his new location. I don't even think it's a boat. I think it's a restaurant because he's like a restaurant bar owner, whatever you want to go with. But he's still a fisherman too. So anyway, let's see, where are we here? Blah, 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 blah. Like I said, I already said Sam Cooper was the driver of the car. Eventually, there's a town hall meeting, like I said, where Ray shows up. As it turns out, Ray is actually Stevie's boss, Stevie, the fifth friend in the group. Stevie actually works for Ray. Ray made a promise to Stevie's father to take care of her when he was on his deathbed. So obviously Stevie's parents are both gone, and Ray is kind of like a surrogate father to her. So he kind of takes care of her. At the town hall meeting, he basically says, you're not going to bury this again like you did back in 97. There's very obviously a killer in town. We've already had 2 deaths, and we need to, the police have to get up off their ass. Of course, the police and the mayor instantly are offended, and they know exactly who Ray is, and they obviously wish that Ray would have left town just like Julie did. Oh, I also forgot to mention that Ray and Julie are divorced now. So even though they were married after the events of the original, they are now divorced. Ray is still in Southport. Julie is living, I think they said she's 30, 40 minutes away from Southport. So she ended up leaving town. Oh, let's see. Blah, blah, blah. At this point, the fisherman ends up attacking Danica after the town hall meeting. He's able to injure her slightly, but she is able to escape. Teddy actually saves her. Danica insists that everyone go and stay at her mansion for the night. So Milo and Ava actually end up hooking back up together. Remember, they had been broken up for about a year or so. But after they have sex, Milo ends up leaving very nervously. Like something happened between him and Danica. Not Danica. Him and Ava. And he ends up leaving in a huff and then eventually ends up getting strangled by the fisherman, who ends up taking his body. So the body's even gone at this point. Ava and Danica, they find out that Judah knew Sam. Now, Judah is the pastor of the town. And he is the red herring that I was really pissed off about in this movie. Like, they make this guy, I mean, he might as well have worn a t-shirt that said red herring. They were so heavy-handed with it. Just the way how creepy he was, the way he would invade people's personal space, the way that he would insist that like Ava not leave when she wanted to leave. Like, they just were setting this guy up so much to be the killer. And then even Stevie's friend, I forgot Stevie's friend's name, but The girl that Stevie was working with the night of Danica's first engagement party, the one that told her, yeah, go ahead, I'll finish up here, you go hang out with your friends. She's actually at the church as well with Judah, and she's fucking creepy too. Like, she starts talking all religious and talking about, God is love and blah, 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 and talking about punishment and everything else. So then she's suddenly a red herring now. Like I said, very heavy-handed with some of this stuff. Okay. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Eventually, Ava and Danica are arrested for harassing Judah and the other girl, Stevie's friend, blah, blah, blah. Teddy ends up getting attacked, but he's a badass, man. He fights. Like I said, Teddy's the Ryan Phillippe of this movie. He's buff, he's athletic, he's kind of a badass. So his fight scene with the killer actually is pretty extensive. Like, there's back and forth punches. Teddy ends up getting stabbed a couple of times, but when you're built the way Teddy's built, I can believe that you can get stabbed a couple of times and still keep coming. I've seen plenty of videos where guys get stabbed, like a dozen times and still get up and continue to defend themselves. So I did like that was mildly realistic. Let's see, where are we here? Eventually, obviously, the killer gets the upper hand and ends up stabbing Teddy a couple of more times. But then I forget which parent. It's either Teddy's mother or father. One of them notices Teddy outside on the ground. They go outside. The killer takes off. But Teddy, unfortunately, has lost so much blood that he ends up dying in his father's arms. Don't forget, his father is the chief of police in that town. So obviously he's an influential guy. And then eventually the killer kills him too. As it turns out, the killer didn't leave after the house alarm went off. And we see the killer come up behind Grant and slash his throat. So now Teddy and his father have both been killed. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, eventually. So at this point now, the only people that are left are the three girls, Ava, Danica, and Stevie. Stevie is so freaked out that she's going to be the next one to go that she basically tells Ava and Danica to join her on her boat. Or it's either her boat or it's a boat that belongs to Ray. I'm not sure exactly, but they basically get on the boat and they just start leaving town. They start going out into the open ocean. Suddenly, the boat stops and the engine is turned off. And guess who shows up? Yes, my friends, the killer with the slicker and the hook shows up. But this time, the killer takes their clothing off to expose it's fucking Stevie. Yes, Stevie, the girl who was actually with them the night that they caused that accident, is the killer. Why is she the killer? Well, as it turns out, she knew Sam Cooper. She actually met Sam Cooper when they were both in rehab, and they developed a relationship, and she was actually starting to get really serious about Sam Cooper. But the car that Sam was driving that night was not his, which is why Danica didn't notice that it was Sam behind the driver's wheel. The truck that Sam was driving was actually Judah's, the pastor. So obviously Sam and Judah must have some kind of relationship. They must know each other somehow because the pastor let Sam borrow his truck. But then, of course, after the accident, like I said, the local police buried everything. The pastor obviously knew what happened since it was his car, but obviously he was made to, basically keep it under wraps, blah, blah, blah. So that's our first big reveal. Stevie is the killer. Now she's basically chasing Ava and Danica around the boat. She ends up stabbing Danica a couple of times, but Danica does not, die. Eventually, we see Ray coming up to their boat with another boat. Like he basically takes his boat. He realizes that, oh shit, why did Stevie take these last two survivors out onto the open ocean? And as the audience member, obviously we think that, oh, Ray has come up with, he somehow figured out that Danica was the killer. And now he's going in the hopes of stopping her before she kills anybody else. So when he gets on the boat, Danica is basically, I keep saying the wrong name. Stevie is in the process of, stalking Ava and Danica. Eventually, Ray shows up and pulls a gun on Stevie. Basically holds the gun up to her. Stevie starts talking about how they took everything from me, and Ray obviously is trying to speak, somewhat rationally, intelligently. He's like, is that really what you want? I mean, does it make you feel better that they're dead now? And Stevie, of course, being the psycho that she is, smiles and says, yes, of course it does. Fuck them. And, she's very adamant that she's going to kill the last two surviving girls. And then eventually, just as Stevie is in the process of explaining herself, Ray shoots her. Takes a single shot, shoots her. Stevie falls off the boat into the water. And that's the last we see of Stevie. And then Ava, Danica, and Ray go back into the main part of the boat to just kind of, rest, get a drink, just kind of process what happened. When Ray takes his coat off, he has a bandage on his right arm. Do you remember earlier in the movie when I said that Ava was able to injure the killer? Ha! Reveal of a second killer. Yes. Apparently, I Know What You Did Last Summer wants to be Scream really, really desperately, because now they're doing the dual killer thing. So like I said, now it turns out Ray is the mastermind and also one of the killers, because one thing that I found funny is that when we got the first reveal that Stevie was the killer, I'm like, no fucking way. There's no way that she fought Teddy down to the ground. Like, Teddy is a buff, athletic dude. And Teddy headbutted the killer, punched the killer in the face and the stomach. It's like, there's no way that Stevie would have fucking won a fight against Teddy. So I'm literally in my theater seat screaming in my head, what the fuck are you, like, I'm almost as mad as the Scream 5 Dewey kill. If you guys remember, there were two killers in Scream 5. One of them was a 95-pound woman who somehow was able to lift Dewey off the fucking ground, because it wasn't Jack Quaid, because Jack Quaid was actually in that scene with the rest of the cast. So it had to be the girl that killed Dewey, and she fucking lifts him off the ground with just a knife. Fuck you. So like I said, I'm thinking we're getting flashbacks of Scream 5. And I'm like, there's no way that Stevie killed Teddy. But then, like I said, we get the reveal that Ray is the mastermind. And, Ray is a pretty good sized guy. He's taller than Teddy, probably not as buff and obviously older. But, he probably knows how to take care of himself. So why did Ray decide to go on this rampage? He's pissed off because the town buried the 1997 massacre. For some reason, Ray was just pissed off that the town just wanted to forget about Helen Shivers and Julie James and everybody else that was involved with that night, Ben Willis, all of it. And it pissed him off to the point where he basically wanted to start a new murder spree to remind this town that there are repercussions for doing stupid shit. And ultimately, that's all those kids did was stupid shit. Like I said, this accident, as I've already explained it to you, is not so egregious that it deserves murder. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's not even manslaughter.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I often think that, like, not doing something, like, I always hope sometimes in these slashers, when you bring back a legacy character, do something bold with them, give them a reason to be there. And I was ready to actually give this movie some credit with Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character being like an accomplice. But then when he gives us his motivation and the reason why, I'm like, oh, you just ruined it, because it's the stupidest reason to justify a killing spree. I was like, you just ruined what could actually been a bold move that I would have cheered, but like, it just seems like such a dumb reason for it to be that. Like, I'm like, nope, now I'm right back to this being dumb.
Yep. And that's exactly where it ends off, being fucking dumb. Like I said, after it's revealed that Ray is the real killer, he then gives chase to Ava. Danica's been knocked out. Like, he hit Danica with something, I forget what, but he basically knocked her out. She's on the ground. Ava is now being chased by Ray throughout the ship. just as Ray has the hook lifted up. Oh, and I forgot to mention that, Jennifer Love Hewitt does show up in this scene. I haven't even mentioned her yet in this walkthrough. I'm very sorry. Basically, Ava goes to visit Julie James after the first two murders, because Julie James is, of course, one of the survivors of the 97 massacre. So she basically is just looking for advice. What can I do? How do I survive this? Blah, blah, blah. And, Julie is just very standoffish. She doesn't really want to help. She doesn't even really want to talk to her. She talks about how I left the town because I don't want to even think about Southport anymore, blah, blah, blah. Well, by the end of the movie, at the same time that Stevie is taking Ava and Danica out to the open sea, Julie somehow is at home and she finds a picture. And in the picture, it's Ray, Judah, Stevie, and Sam Cooper all together and all smiles. That's when Julie James puts together that, oh shit, I think Ray is, behind all this. And of course she's right. And she arrives just in time at the boat. And she says the damn line, "What are you waiting for?" Which, my God, that line is the most famous line from the original movie. And I thought it was so fucking stupid when it was delivered in that movie. Like, I don't understand how that became such an iconic line, because the delivery of it in the original was fucking stupid. And the delivery of it in this one is fucking stupid.
Well, there's two big reasons why it became iconic. Let's just be honest here.
Oh, two big reasons. I gotcha. Oh my God. Anyway, basically, Julie shows up at the boat just as Ray is trying to kill Ava. Of course, they see each other. They have their little jokes about, divorce and being married and blah, blah, blah. And then basically Ray is about to kill Julie. He basically has the hook up in his hand. His hand is up. And then she yells at him, "What are you waiting for?" So fucking stupid. But then just as Ray is about to bring his hand down, Danica wakes up, grabs the spear gun, and shoots him right through the torso. So the spear is literally right through him. And that's it. He fucking keels over and dies. Now, obviously, I'm sure I don't even have to explain this, but because Ray and Stevie were working together, Ray obviously didn't shoot Stevie. He obviously probably had blanks in that gun. And she just pretended to get shot, fell off the side of the boat, and she's probably alive somewhere. And we get proof of that at the end of the film. So basically, after a part of our credits play, we get a mid-credit scene, and it's Julie James going to visit none other than her college roommate from I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, played by Brandy. So yes, we actually get an appearance from Brandy during the mid-credit scene. Let's see. Julie shows Brandy. I forget Brandy's character's name, so I'm sorry. I'm just going to call her Brandy. But basically shows her a note that she just received the day before. And the note says, "This isn't over." Something along those lines, like, this isn't over, or, I'm not done, something along those lines. And then she basically looks at Brandy and says, "Well, we got to go hunting. Somebody's out there and they're obvious." And they know it's Stevie. Obviously, like I said, Stevie is very obviously alive. She definitely wasn't shot by Ray. Ray, the one guy who promised her father to take care of her for the rest of her life, is obviously not going to shoot her. So Stevie is very much alive. We don't find out what happens to her, but I'm sorry, I forgot to mention the scene at the end of the main part of the movie that pissed me off so much. Basically, Ava and Danica are released from the hospital a few days after the events on Ray's boat. They basically go and get like a cheeseburger together because they're starving. And literally Ava's last line in the movie is, "To think this could have all been avoided if men just went to therapy." Fuck you, you fucking cunt. Are you fucking kidding me? You're going to throw an entire gender under the bus? This is 2025. We don't do that anymore to either gender. And this bitch is going to say that kind of shit if men need to go to therapy, first of all, plenty of men go to fucking therapy, you vapid dipshit. And second of all, even if Ray went to therapy, I'm pretty sure he starts this murder spree anyway, especially after the events of Sam Cooper's death, being that Sam and Stevie were in a relationship together. So I know it's just meant to be a stupid Gen Z joke, but fuck you. That was so retarded. And then we get our mid-credit scene with Brandy, and they basically Rambo up and say, okay, we got to go hunting, and the movie ends there. So obviously, yes, they're trying to set up the next sequel where it's going to be Julie James and Brandy's character, I guess, going after Stevie, but that would be a first if they actually did an I Know What You Did Last Summer movie where we knew who the killer was the whole time. I might actually be interested in that. No murder mystery, just make it a cat and mouse movie with Julie and Brandy, going after Stevie. Maybe Stevie makes a new friend and another killer shows up, blah, blah, blah. Who knows? But yeah, I was just thoroughly bored with this movie. Just unlikable characters doing stupid things. And like I said, it just doesn't make any sense that after the events of that car accident, that Stevie just decides to kill all of them, especially when Ava was adamant about wanting to call the police. Like, Stevie still wants to kill Ava, even though she was the one person who wanted to do the right thing that night. That's fucking petty. So yeah, again, the motivations of the killers. I mean, obviously I can deal with Stevie's motivation. She lost probably the love of her life, and that's fine. But Ray,
the other thing about the way they're setting up a sequel is if it's directly based on the mid-credit scene, then they're pretty much going back to like it being legacy character focused. Because
which do we really want to watch a bunch of 50-year-olds running around being chased by a guy in a slicker?
Yeah, I mean, you would think it like someone at their age would be like, okay, just go buy a gun, and like, because it's
right.
It's not like they're scared.
That's the most realistic. In my opinion, that's the most realistic thing about Scream 5 is that one line where Sidney says, "I'm Sidney fucking Prescott. Of course I have a gun." I mean, I fucking love that line because every single person who survives a horror movie should basically have a gun on them 24/7. Like, I don't care. If I survive Jason Voorhees, I'm going to be armed for the rest of my fucking life. I'm going to die with a rifle in my hand. I don't care. So yeah, Mike has a valid point. None of these people carry weapons. None of them have any like sense of self-preservation. It just, God, whatever. Can we just stop talking about this movie so I can go eat my pot roast?
Yeah, I'm getting hungry too.
All right.
And the smell is permeating all through my house. Oh, I love it. I probably smell like pot roast.
Yeah. So if it's not apparent, we really wish we didn't know what they did last summer, but that's gonna wrap up. It's gonna wrap up our discussion on this and this episode of Fresh Cuts, but we can see if there's anything new from anyone. So Venom, any new shows to promote?
Yes, No More Room in Hell presents Creature Comforts. Episode 40 is in the can. I am just about done editing that, so it should be out, I'm hoping, no more than a day or two after you hear this episode. On that episode, we took a look at, what did we do that day?
Black Scorpion.
Black Scorpion. Goddamn. I still got humanoids from the deep on the brain. Something about rape fish, they stick to your brain. So the Black Scorpion from 1957, I believe. The original black and white, movie that's been riffed by Mystery Science Theater 3000. But I may have some surprising things to say about that movie on that episode. So like I said, that should be available within a couple of days after this one is out there. So check that out. We already have our movie for our next episode 41, but we'll keep that under our hat for now. And unfortunately, that's all I got. No guest spots to speak of, no Crystal Lake gift shop. I'll leave the main show to Mike. And yep, that's it for me, folks.
What about you, Dawn?
Yeah, pretty much same thing. Whenever the Creature Comforts is available. Latest episode, the movie's been picked. We're waiting on time and availability. And yeah, just waiting on the latest episodes from my roundtables that I've recorded earlier this year.
All right. And nothing really brand new for me anymore. I have a potential guest spot I might do, but I'll leave that under wraps just in case because it's not guaranteed. I mean, it's not fully 100%. It's kind of more like a invite to do it, and if I feel like doing it. So, um, is there anything wide coming out this week?
Dude, we have count them, 3 horror movies opening in theaters this weekend.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We've got The Home, which is the one that's probably getting the most buzz, which, more than likely will probably be our movie. Ick, something just called Ick. I know nothing about that. I saw the poster and I kind of liked it. And then Bambi's Reckoning opens this Friday, and I already have my tickets. It's the only one I've bought my ticket for so far. I'm sure it's probably not going to be the movie that we discuss unless by some freak of nature, it's actually somehow better than Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which I can't imagine it's going to be. But for whatever it's worth, I kind of like these Disney properties that are turned into, or not just Disney, because they did it with Popeye too, but these old cartoon properties that are turning into horror movies. Obviously, some are better than others, but for the most part, they're usually pretty fun, So I'm looking forward to Bambi's Reckoning. It's the first one that I bought a ticket for. I still haven't bought a ticket for Home or Ick. But yeah, we got 3 movies in theaters this weekend to choose from. I would imagine The Home is probably going to be the pick since that one's getting the most festival buzz. But, I'm going to see all 3 regardless, and then we'll get together and figure out which one.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have a weekend or at least a Saturday and like half a Sunday alone. Like with no family obligations. So I might at least be able to get 2 of those watch. I'm not sure if I'm getting screenings for the Bambi one, but I mean, if I am and I have time, it's like shit. I have the unlimited app, so I might as well. I just don't know if I'm getting screenings for it.
Yeah, that's the only reason I'm going too. It's playing at AMC out here. I've got the AMC A list, so I figure fuck it. I'll watch all 3 movies this weekend. I don't do much on weekends anyway, so lots of movies.
And then as a potential last option, there's a new one from Shudder called Monster Islands. Some Asian creature feature thing. I was gonna bring it up as on the show, but I decided to we'll explain when we do Creature Comforts, but that was another potential option just in case.
Nice. I'm watching that either way. Nice.
When does that hit? Tomorrow?
The day we record this, yes, the 25th.
Okay, cool.
Nice. Lots of options.
Yeah, it's always better to have more than less. So cool. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks everyone for listening. We will be back in a handful of days with the next one. Let's say bye to listeners.
Later.
Fuck this movie. Time for pot roast.
Peace.